what an episode. It's so I was talking, like I said earlier, with one of my coworkers, Tom, and I was talking about the fact that this episode alone showed that Marvel knows how to tell a clear, concise story, and that they are really starting to figure out their TV stuff. Because we all were talking, the crap about Wanda. Well, okay, not everyone. I still will flame WandaVision for not really being able to tell a great story in TV. It got a little bit better in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but now they know what they're doing. This episode's brilliant. I would say it probably rivals some of the other best episodes of Marvel TV so far. Probably one of the best. And I'm just blown away by what we saw. But Sasha, I want your opening thoughts. What did you think about this absolutely insane episode?
For me, this episode, especially after last week, like I really was selling myself on last week's episode, really wanted to like it, really was trying to find the purpose, the silver lining in the episode. And I still don't think it deserves the hate that it got, but you know what? People have been starved of their Marvel content for a long time. If this is your favorite character and you're like, if you don't vibe with Sylvie for some reason, I get why you like that episode would be a sore spot for you. But for me, this episode from the get-go, I was just like enthralled in it and wasn't ever checking my phone, didn't look at the time, wasn't like looking around the room. Like my eyes were just glued to the screen, glued to what was going on, invested in everything. And I agree. And I think what I think is great about this episode is for the first time, this show has created, I'm not trying to say that like Agatha or John Walker or anyone else that's been like a side character in other shows hasn't been well developed, because I think those are two examples of well developed characters. But I think in this series with Mobius, because I would make the argument that this episode is like focused on Mobius's experience. Like obviously it's still Loki, but Mobius is like his arc throughout the episode changes the most. He's the one that the like story is kind of dependent upon, because Loki is literally like cuffed, like put in the time loop. And so I think this show was such strong writing, had such great pacing, and really proved that like they, like you said, Jack, they are willing and able to write well-written television episodes that make sense chronologically. And yeah, I loved this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think if y'all didn't like the last episode, which is fine, that's the majority. I'm one of the few people that actually really enjoyed what they did in the last episode. If you didn't like this episode, then this show really ain't for you, because they went from one side of the spectrum to completely the opposite side in this one, giving us payoff after payoff, action with more action, and some very heartfelt moments. But I think let's break some of these down. I knew the TVA was going to save them off the planet. I didn't love that, but you know what? In the grand scheme of the episode, it was such a minute thing that I'm not really going to ding that many points, because again, we get the rest of the episode, which really is just top tier Marvel, just Marvel. It's a marvel to marvel at this Marvel con. Wow, that was a lot of Marvel. But let's talk about the first. I think we'll hit like the big points here in our review. Mobius. Pour one out for our main
Pouring
guy.
out for the homie.
That was not something I was expecting. Did we technically confirm our theory that they would turn Mobius? Yes. But then a minute later, he gets, as they called, pruned. So I love the moment that he gets before. So just talking about my thoughts, and then I'll get Sasha. I'll have Sasha give her thoughts about this moment. We got a great moment from Mobius here, where he gets to stand up to Renslayer and be like, you know what? I know where I want to go. I want to go back to the life I had. I want to get on my damn jet ski. He didn't actually say that, but I want to get back to the life I had where I was actually happy. And then he gets pruned. But I love that moment because we've seen him kind of in the side. He's been the funny guy. He's been the calm, timid kind of guy throughout. You know, whenever he's with Renslayer, you know, he's always, you know, really timid and not, you know, trying to play favorites and trying to say, hey, oh, you know, I'm your favorite, you know, stuff like that. But here he's like, nah, he stands up for himself. He's like, no, I'm not taking your crap anymore. I'm going to stand up for myself, even if it ends up that I end up dying. I love that moment here. So I want to get your thoughts on just this whole, in general, just the whole moment of Mobius, you know, and then him getting pruned. What did you think about that?
I loved that moment. I loved it specifically because there's a moment when he's still trying to like lie to her, see if he can like get himself out of this one. I mean, he's spent all this time around Loki's, like he's picked up a few tricks, like you know, he's gonna try to like talk his way out of this one. And then when he can't, he gives that speech, and there's this moment of like, it could just be like the timing of it and the dramatic timing of when the actors like actually step up and like do the pruning. But I feel like there's this hesitation for Ravonna. I think I called her Ramona earlier, but I think it's Ravonna Renslayer, where she's like, if I prune him right now in front of all these other people too, they're all gonna know he's a variant, because I'm pretty sure it was confirmed pretty early in the show that like it only works on variants. And so like there's almost this slight moment of hesitation, and he's even like, am I about to get, I'm either gonna like dissipate into nothing, and I'm like, nothing I ever believed was true, or like it's not gonna do anything, and then like I'm gonna lose everything that I've worked for here because I like stood up. And obviously he is pruned and sent away. And initially, before that end scene, because I think when Mobius got pruned before Loki did, that's when I was like, oh crap, like he's done. And I actually had Jack's like words of like, they didn't bring Owen Wilson on for like one project, and I'm like, no, like they wouldn't bring him on for just a couple episodes, right? Like he's got to come back, and then as they like did it and they ventured like up towards the Timekeepers, I'm like, oh my gosh, they did it with Aaron Taylor Johnson, with Pietro, one of my favorite characters. Like they're gonna do it with Owen too. I mean, and like, because then my brain was like, the only time my brain actually was thinking this episode that wasn't like fully invested in the episode was like, yeah, and Cate Blanchett's Hela was only in one movie, so like I don't know. And then of course like we get the confirmation, which I don't have a problem with. I get that some people don't like the MCU dying not being a thing,
not really dying,
but I think there's death in the MCU is usually very symbolic. Specifically, like Tony, I think is Tony and Nat at this point, I think are the only two characters that are like truly gone, and in some shape or form. And so like that's supposed to be meaningful. So like to me, when like a character like this dies, unless I see meaning attached, I'm not gonna believe that it's 100% there. Like that's why. And the first thing I ever did, and we'll get into this maybe later, but like Coulson in the first Avengers, like his death has extreme meaning. Like that's who they're avenging. Like that's what their name comes from, is like avenging Coulson's death. And that one is probably the hardest one to try to dispute. And like there was questionable things if you've watched or read anything about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of whether he does come back, but I'm gonna say he did. And so that's, I don't know, it's just tricky, but I really like that moment for that tension of like trying to twist in their own minds like what they actually know and believe, and accepting demise. Because like just because he says like I believe I'm a variant now doesn't mean he's not facing death in that exact moment. It's not until the pruning comes out that it's like, oh crap, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I literally echo everything you say, and this is half theory, also half this is half review, also half theory time. Yeah, he's not dead. He's not.
No way.
After we see what happens to Loki in the post-credit scene, which if you don't know, there is a post-credit scene in this episode, or mid-credit scene in this episode, he went somewhere else. Where? I don't know. I don't even know where Loki is right now. We don't know where he is. And the other question comes to pass, and I guess we'll just talk about the post-credit scene right now because it's just a 15-second clip. when Richard E. Grant delivers the line, no, but you will be if you don't come with us. Like, he asked, am I dead? He says, no, but you will be if you don't come with us. Okay, well, does that mean, like, if he doesn't come with them, like, something's gonna happen to him and he will, like, dissolve or something, like, because of the pruning? Or is it just like, oh, people are here and you're just gonna die, you know, like something like that, like, you're still alive, but people are gonna come and like you're gonna die if you don't come with us, and we'll help protect you and stuff like that. That's the question that now is posed to me, is, well, what is it? So, like, do I think Owen Wilson's gonna come back? Yes. Please, love of God, get him on that damn jet ski, please.
Absolutely.
But I do want to get your thoughts on this post-credit scene. This is the Council of Lokis. This is what's been teased. We're getting it next episode. I'm so excited. What are your thoughts on this post-credit scene? And we got Richard E. Grant. What are your thoughts?
Yes. I'm super excited about it, because especially when they weren't rescued by the Lokis and they're like basically like arrested by the TVA instead, and then the way this episode went, I wasn't even thinking, and that's where I think this episode is good, is it doesn't make you think about the things you've seen in the initial trailer or the mid-season trailer that just dropped that you haven't seen yet, because usually that's like confirmation of like literally before the post-credit scenes, like during the credits, I was like, that's another Loki in the like they're just gonna go find another 2012 Loki in another timeline and snatch him back, like just keep you know what I mean, like I genuinely didn't know if that version of Loki was dead, but they'd bring him back somehow. But I think that post-credit scene, first of all, it was great because it automatically confirms it's not like, is Loki dead now? Like, that's not part of the conversation. It's like, no, he's very much not. I think it's a great introduction to everyone because, again, we'll pick up right where we get started. I also liked having the post-credit scene because now I hope that we have them for the next 2 episodes as well. Yeah. And so, like, I loved that. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say about it. I think I'm just excited to see all the different types of them, what they look like their costuming, their different personalities, because as everyone's been saying earlier in the chat, like Sylvie and Loki have such distinct like personality traits. Like, even though they're supposed to be Loki, they're very different. The only thing that's really the same is like their need for like mischief and chaos and kind of being a loner that survives. Everything else is different. So like I'm excited to see what these other Lokis bring to the table. Like everyone's saying, like see Richard E. Grant, see the other actors like be these other versions of Loki, and just kind of explore, where are they? Like, are they in a realm like the way you kind of are like the souls in the Soul Stone are like trapped there in some comics? Like, is it something like that? Is it like the quantum realm where like it's not mystical? Is it something totally different? Is this also within the TVA? Like, because they prune a lot of people. Like, do you have
a big old holding cell or something?
Right. Do you have one world where all these variants are able to coexist that's almost like its own multiverse? Or is like Owen Wilson going to wake up in a universe that is only other Mobius variants?
Yeah.
Or are they all together?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that's going to get answered next episode. There's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of potential here. I really enjoy, you know, what they did with this, and I think it's perfect because we knew it was coming. We knew this council, which is what it's called, this council of Lokis. We knew this was coming. You know, we'd seen the trailer the trailer clips and the photos. We knew it was coming, so I'm glad that they finally introduced it. And going into episode 5, fine. You got 2 episodes left. Do it. But for real though, I mean, let's get into this topic next because I'm going to save the big shebang for the end. So we talked about this a little bit when we were talking to the chat. This Nexus event that they're talking about is like the Loki on Loki, the Loki and Sylvie like relationship that's forming. Like that's what this Nexus event is. At least that's what I interpreted it to be. How do we feel about this? You were really towing a really slim line here, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna start with you, Sasha, because I need to kind of compose my thoughts. How do we feel about this?
You know, I don't know if I have anything like intelligent to say on the matter. I think it's an obvious ship to me because
It's built. It's in the
it's
harbor.
right. It's there. It exists on screen. It's been addressed by alternative like other characters, so it's basically without being like official within the show, it's basically canon, like it exists there. You're not like forcing parts together that like wouldn't be there. Like not it's not something like someone saying like, oh, I ship like Bruce Banner and like Steve Rogers. Like that's not really something that's like hinted at within the show, but like someone could come up with it. So like it's more of like a canonical ship than something like that. I think I struggle with stuff like this because I am definitely like when it comes to like couples in fictional things that I like am like, oh, I really like them or want them to be together. One, I'm very much like long term, like seeing that play out over like a couple seasons or at least multiple episodes and stuff. Here, I feel like it's being kind of rushed. I think there's also like Loki doesn't really know what love is. Sylvie hinted at the fact that there was someone else once, which I don't know what that is. I don't know if this is what they're referencing in some other alternative timeline. But like,
if I may,
yes, go ahead.
did you see the meme where it was like talking about how she has a thing with a mailman, and they showed the Stan Lee mailman from Civil War?
That's good.
It's
That
like,
is good.
Oh, stop, back it up.
Stop. Oh, that's too funny. But like, I think with them, I think it's the fascination I understand between the two of them. It's the first time that we know of within the like sacred timeline or the MCU that two variants of the same individual are meeting up. And so obviously there's that fascination there. Everyone said in the comics that like, or comments here, Loki's a little bit of a narcissist. He would like someone that's kind of like him. Like, I mean, the only other time that I've ever seen like Loki like jokingly say that he was attracted to someone was Valkyrie in Ragnarok, because she has the same like doesn't care about the rules. You know, most of Ragnarok she's a drunk, so like there's that like kind of like just funny, like don't really care vibes. So I can obviously see where the attraction comes from, but like I guess because I don't ship it, I'm like not on board with it. But I kind of don't care that much. The only thing is I don't want it to become like I love her, like I have to save her, because one, that's not like what the character is about. Like it's not who he is. I guess I don't want any relationship to fundamentally change Loki or the way he behaves. Like I would hate if he like becomes an all good guy for his love interest who is also himself. Like that's where I don't want it to be cheaped out on, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah. It makes sense. My thoughts on this are, it's kind of like I said, the ship's in the harbor. I feel like I'm waiting in line to get a ticket. It sounds bad, but like they are so different. Like they are the same, but they are so different. And I don't know how I can make this sound good. I don't know. Because it's not like it no. But if they weren't the same, they'd make a pretty cute couple. If they weren't the same, if I want to be clear, they'd make a pretty cute couple because they work great with each other. They've got great chemistry. Now, yeah, they're the same person, but they do, and I love her performance. Who is she? What's her name?
Sophia DiMartino.
She's so good. Please,
I liked her a lot more this episode than last one even.
Yeah.
Just because I think she was really guarded, which she now like. She played extremely well last episode, but like I've grown to like the character more here, where she's a little bit less guarded in those beginning moments.
Yeah, but I think honestly, if I had to pick, I would take more of her than more of Owen Wilson. I think
I would definitely go with Mobius. I definitely like Mobius, but again, like we've said, like we've been preaching, it's your opinion, you know. And I think at the end of the day, I think the thing I'm most happy with that gives me like the confidence to say like I don't really care like what happens with the two of them is the fact that the writers are not like putting it in there to see if you catch it and then like not addressing it by the fact that Mobius brings it up, because like it could be something that now that Loki recognizes it doesn't like act on, or it never becomes a thing, but the fact that it was addressed at least in a pretty humorous way, and like for Mobius to articulate all of our opinions makes me happier about it than if the show is just like we're totally okay with this, or like we're just gonna wait and see if you guys like it, and if enough fans like it then we'll make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
Not that they can rewrite this season, but I'm talking more specifically if there are future seasons of the show, which I believe there will be, and I'm sure both of them will be returning. So like that's what I'm talking about when I say like waiting for fan reaction. Like the way in older television series you'd wait to see if like what worked in a season, how your ratings were before you like change stuff.
Which are the best of all of them. So now we're gonna do everything on Wednesday. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really know how to get out of that conversation. It's an interesting one, but I will, one thing before we get to the main thing we're going to talk about. I don't like where we're going, and let me clarify this. I think it's pretty much clear that by the end of this season, the TVA really isn't going to be anymore. It's going to be gone.
Or not as we know it.
Yeah. I don't like that, because what is season 2 then? We had a pretty good idea in the first few episodes, like, okay, the TVA stays, but they're like the multiverse police, and Mobius and Loki are going on these side quests. It's kind of like X-Files or something like that. I would really not be happy if they were like, oh, the variants are set free, and then Loki just shows up in the next Thor movie. I don't want that. I want it to stay contained, because it works that way. It works if it's contained. It doesn't work if you're just like, because then it's Marvel going into their trap again. The trap that everyone has a problem with. Oh, you kill someone, but they're not really dead. That takes away the emotion of Loki actually dying in Infinity War. Like, that takes away that emotion. So it's like, oh, that really emotional death in Infinity War that made us all cry and made us emotional, like he's really gone this time. That line by Thanos, no resurrections this time, it means nothing. It means nothing if he just comes back. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Same thing as the goddamn paperweights. Doesn't mean anything now, because they're paperweights to them. Oh, Tony Stark didn't die for it.
I think the one thing, right. I think the one thing with these shows that I always try to keep in mind, and this is more like the business side of like Marvel as a business and not necessarily just a narrative force. There's 3 types of people now that watch Marvel movies. There's the people that watch everything MCU, have some basic understanding of how stuff works and knowledge, like pretty much everyone here, everyone who's really invested in the story wouldn't like dream of like missing something, like it's just 100% Marvel all the way, right? Or even if they're like another, you know what I mean, like invested. Then there's people who are only going to watch the movies, or maybe a couple episodes of a TV show but not take it seriously, or put it on the background just because people are talking about it. Those people are important. And then there's the people who don't give 2 iotas about the MCU. But those middle group of people, the people that just see the movies, the TV shows, like specifically I'm talking about WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Falcon and Winter Soldier is a better example, so we'll stick with that one. They have to function as something that adds meaning to the people that watch it, you know, is an enjoyable experience for us that pay the whatever a month for Disney Plus, that tune in week to week, that review it, that are invested. But it needs to not change enough in the movies, which I understand where people are critical of, but it needs to change not enough, because Marvel now, splitting into 2 different mediums of television and film, cannot expect people to narratively comprehend changes between movie to movie that are impacted by the TV shows. Like TV show people who are still alive in the movies can show back up, but if you think about the last time we saw Loki in the movies, he died and he said no resurrections, and it was like very final and all that kind of stuff. And now for Loki to be pulled from the 2012 timeline, Like, it makes sense for this TV show specifically, but like it for a casual viewer of the MCU, you can't just bring him back into the film. So that would be my argument for why this is either a limited series or drama series or whatever, or a like running TV show, is because this is the one series where you can't just explain away. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Last time we see Sam in the movies, he gets the shield. He's Captain America. Next time we see him in the movies, he will be Captain America. So nothing will have changed for movie people. For us, we understand that, well, someone else was Captain America for a period of time, and that's who the bad guy, and like there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But it can be easily montaged. Like John Walker can be easily montaged, or no one has to know he has the complexity, because that's then a treat for deeper fans to say like, well, blah, 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 blah happened in Falcon Winter Soldier. So like, that's a long spiel as to why like I feel like he's not just going to show up in Thor Love and Thunder. Plus like Tom Hiddleston's been doing all this press. I don't think he was in Australia when they were filming. So, I mean, again, they could hide that stuff, but like I think people would have noticed if he's doing press for Loki in Australia, you know what I mean? Or like that sort of thing.
Like, where are you?
Yeah, exactly. So that's just my take on how these MCU shows function, in the sense that like, how do you explain the whole variant thing, or have him now totally be disconnected? Because really, if Loki comes back into the movies, everyone's pissed off. Just casual people are like, what the heck, he died?
Yeah, like,
and then
they did it again.
Right, serious people are like, so he's not going to call Mobius or deal with Sylvie, and like those never get mentioned. Like, we wasted our time.
The TVA, like, all that, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that they have to, and I think they've set themselves up well to do this. They have to just continue to be weird and creative with hardcore fans in the TV sphere, then they can be bringing him back into the movie. Because otherwise, it's just, there's no way to explain it away. So that's my take on that. Sorry, that was long, but
no,
but yeah,
it's total. I completely agree. I 100% agree with what you're talking about. But let's get into it. Sasha.
Thank you guys. Hold on.
Take a victory lap. Take a victory lap.
Here we go. We're gonna stand up here.
Just standing ovation for Sasha.
Thank you everyone. I would like to thank this community for this one time I've been correct. Unlike my movie drafts record, I think I've been more wrong than I have correct with these predictions, these series, these trailer reactions I have done. But here, I was correct, and I even doubted myself for a period of time, but I buckled down last week, and thank goodness I did, because if I didn't, everyone would be like, this is retconning your theory, like, da, da, da. But I'm here to say it, guys. I saw this one coming, and I'm really happy about it. I'm really excited about it.
So the timekeepers aren't real. They're robots.
So nice to say.
They are not real. They are robots. That is confirmed. We still don't know who created or is running the TVA. Oh, I really thought they were real. That's a fat L on my part.
Is anyone in the comments, or you, Jack, is anyone disappointed with this? Like, is anyone? No,
because the post-credit scene in the last episode is going to be Kang the Conqueror doing something. It's something, and it's going to set up Ant-Man in Quantumania. Because in the end, for me at least, and then I'll let you give your full thoughts. Sorry, I got to give my thoughts.
No, go for it.
In the end, something was going to happen with like, even if they were real, something was going to happen where they were either going to go away or they weren't going to be a thing, because they would have had to step in and say, hey, it was like my theory where some catastrophic event was going to happen. They had to save him, but the timekeeper's like, nah. But then they would have to convince them otherwise, and then the multiverse would be created.
Mm-hmm.
But now, is there really one timeline? Or are we already in the multiverse?
No, that is the true theory. Because okay, and this is where I was just thinking I have to mention this in this stream because I know other people feel the same way.
Do it now.
Episode 2, we all remember, right?
Yeah.
Lady Loki
kinda,
sends all the
little bit.
time bombs
Yep,
through the portals, right? Goes
Yep.
everywhere. And we see all these branches pop up. And everyone in Casey in the office is like freaking out because there's all these red branches coming off the timeline.
They're gone.
This time we see the timeline before the Nexus event that's like spiking off, like straight up.
They're not there.
And
Wow.
none of the other branches are there. It's not been addressed. Now, I gave them, it was fine last week.
Yeah, last week.
Right? Made
week?
sense.
No.
But now I'm frustrated because one, I don't know if it's going to be addressed. I'm scared it's not going to be.
I don't think it is. I think it was just because sorry again to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Because you get Renslayer and Mobius just clinking drinks saying, "Oh, case closed."
Right,
You wouldn't
exactly.
be doing that if there was this huge Nexus event happening and all crap's about to break loose. You wouldn't be
No,
doing
my
that.
only prediction with that is that Renslayer, who seems to be the only person that knows fully what's going on, the only person in charge that we can confirm, I think she, like, if they have this memory erasing technology anyways, can she just like magically like fix these different Nexus events that are branching off the timeline and like cover it up and brainwash everyone so they don't even know that it happened? Or are we just supposed to believe that something we didn't know that was ever fixed is now going to be the time part, if no other multiverse is established by the end of the series, that little like 10 minutes that they're trying to fix stuff is when Multiverse Madness, potentially No Way Home, all of that happens? That is where I'm like, I need that to be a little stronger for me.
Yeah, that part's frustrating for me, and like I know like Brandon Davis and some other people on social media have been talking about this as well. It's like it takes away the magic of that cliffhanger. In episode two. It takes away the magic because the best part of that cliffhanger is not Loki running into the portal after Lady Loki. That's great, but that's not the best part. The best part is seeing that monitor start branching out, everyone freaking out because you're like, multiverse.
Yeah.
Like that's the best part of that cliffhanger. If you completely basically retcon that or just brush that under the rug, the magic goes away. People don't remember it as this great cliffhanger. People still remember Evan Peters showing up in WandaVision, even though he turned out to be a boner joke. Well, actually, I guess that kind of is the same thing. You know what? Just forget what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I digress. It takes away the magic if you're just going to completely retcon what was the best part of that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
But I'm fine with them not being real because it gives Sasha the satisfaction of being right. First off, and second off, I knew in the end we'd get some sort of conclusion with them. Whether it be they're real, whether it be they're not real, because I like, at least in my mind, two things were going to come out of this in my mind. Three things, actually. One, multiverse. Multiverse was going to come out of this. This is going to be the show where the multiverse is created. It still will be, even though the timekeepers aren't real. It still will be created in this. That's the biggest.
Could already have been created.
Yeah. As we say at work now, I give this 5 Jack stars. 5 out of 5 Jack stars. Multiverse is happening. It's going to happen in this series. The second thing, I'm going to give this 3.5 Jack stars that Kang is going to be introduced. It may be in a post-credit scene in the last episode or something like that, but he's coming. He's going to be introduced. And then the third thing I knew almost for certain is that we would get some sort of conclusion with the timekeepers. I didn't think they'd still be there, or I didn't think they'd still be functioning the way that they were after the finale of this first season. So I'm fine with it. Because in the end, someone else pulling the strings, which is great because you're not taking away the mystery after 4 episodes. The mystery is still on. Okay, Loki even asks it. Well, who is controlling the TVA? The mystery is still there. We don't know. So I dug it. But Sasha, I'll get your thoughts on this specifically. I mean, obviously you are just jumping for joy.
I'm over the moon. I really am.
But how do you feel about like the reveal? Like, do you like the way that it went, or what do you think?
I really liked it. I liked it in the sense that it was so okay, to be honest, in the scene, like I was just like anticipating like what's gonna happen next because they like I couldn't hear what the timekeepers were saying. I don't watch with captions because too many people have said they've
I
had
couldn't
things
either.
spoiled
It's like,
with
what?
captions, but they were so muffled. But I was like, something else important is gonna happen like later. So I was like, it doesn't matter. And then by that point, like one of their like heads got cut off, and I was just so excited because with the smoke and stuff, I didn't see it necessarily being robots or like animatronics or something. Like I thought they were gonna get up there and it be misty and like I don't know. There's magic in this show. Like I figured, like who knows?
And Disney's
But
really good at animatronic robots, as we know.
yeah, exactly. This is basically just the trial for the TVA is actually the Imagineers guys for Disney. They're the ones.
No, this was a trial run for the new Loki ride that's going to come at Disney
absolutely.
World. Like,
that was the first. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, "There's gonna be a ride of this." Yeah. And like that's gonna happen like in the ride is like the head gets cut off and like you just go somewhere else like with it. But
the Star Tours glasses, the head flies at you and like bumps off whatever buggy you're in. And
exactly, and you're like sent flying back. Exactly, 100%. But yeah, I really liked the way it happened. I liked the tension in the scene. I also really liked in this show that even though like I never anticipate truly that like Loki is going to die or be in any like super dire circumstance, I like that the tension was built in that scene to make me like I was fully there. Like I wasn't thinking at that point like they're not going to kill Loki like logically. I was just invested in the emotion of the moment and the fact that like we're there and you're like spooked, you're trying to catch like Easter eggs in the background. And it also very much, that scene, the entirety of it reminded me, was pointed out to me by Christian, of the Red Room scene in The Last Jedi.
Yep.
Very much, which I think was intentional. I personally think for my disdain for The Last Jedi, that is like the best scene of that movie for me. So like I still think it was done better cinematography wise, but I liked the feeling of that scene. And the tension that was there was obviously the same too. So I really liked that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention this scene after we really talked about this because that fight scene, the choreography first is great. I love the way it's shot, and just getting to see Loki and Sylvie just fighting back to back with each other is epic. It was so well done. Definitely, this whole sequence was the climax of the episode, but that really was the most heart-pounding, get your blood pumping part, and I loved what they did with it. I was absolutely so happy with how it ended up. But
I also like that this reveal really quickly. Sorry to cut you off, Jack.
No,
I'm just really glad. Again, I'm being surprised by how okay I am with certain things happening earlier that I expected to happen later. Like, see, episode 2, I mean, maybe it didn't happen now. I have no idea. With all the Nexus branches, like, oh my gosh, multiverses technically, like, looks like it's being achieved. Or then, like, this, like, I really thought this standoff was going to be final episode. And I like that it's here because, again, it keeps me guessing. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me wondering, like, what more do they have planned?
And
that's what I'm excited.
There's still time. Did it feel rushed?
No,
didn't feel rushed like the final battle in WandaVision. Every time I have an opportunity to crap on WandaVision, I'm going to. It didn't feel rushed like the entire last episode of WandaVision. It's great. Does it feel a little early? Maybe, but if you think about it, let it happen, because then you've got more time to breathe afterwards. You didn't have time to breathe after WandaVision. You were so claustrophobic with everything happening so quickly. So it's like, I really liked, and that's a great point that you made. I really liked that they did it now, because we now still have 2 episodes left, and we've already met one of our huge climaxes, seeing the timekeepers. Who are they? What are they? Finding out that they're not real. And now we're like, okay. And we hit what we all thought was going to be the major climax in the series. We hit it in episode 4, and we still got 2 episodes left. Oh boy. So I love that. So Sasha, I'm asking you final thoughts from this episode before we finish this review. What did you think overall?
So good. I said it in my review today. I am always going to cherish this first episode of this season, like forever, for what it is, just as like an episode of television. But this might now be my favorite episode of this season, or from this series, or potentially of Marvel television, just because of the way it's able to pace itself so well, use all its characters at just the right amounts, at just the right times, have good reveals, have a great cliffhanger. We get that after the credits scene. Like, to me, this feels like what an episode of Marvel television should look and feel like. And I just hope that this is like the mood board inspiration picture for all the other Marvel stuff going forward. I don't want it to be exactly the same. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. I just mean like this is well done. A job majorly well done to everyone of the Loki team.
Yeah, and my thoughts, I think really the first episode and this episode is like 1A, 1B. I think the first episode, what it does so well is world build and bring in some really intimate emotion. I think that's what's really well done in the first episode. And then this episode, this is a great example of how to hit a climax right.
Yes.
How to make reveals right, how to have really really great action and fulfilling answers. So they're two very different episodes in the ways that they are. So that's why I have them at 1B, because they're so good at what they do. They're just vastly different. So I really enjoyed this episode. One of my favorites in it. This series is so damn good. It's so
really is.
damn good.